The reality with technology they have and our reality is like pure boredom for what we are doing here.
Jan, I would like to welcome you to the Localization Podcast. Finally. Hello.
Hello, Andre. So thanks a lot for having me. It's great pleasure.
How are you doing, man? I'm very happy that you put on your red sweater. I'm not sure if it's the same one that you wore for the panel for multilingual. That was actually my request, from that panel that you attended for multilingual. I learned that it's good to put on the clothes that make you stand out against your background. So thank you for that lesson.
So we will see a lot of panelists in future dressing in red.
Or bright colors, yeah. One thing that I'm curious about is actually your name. And FYI, the reason why I'm talking to you is because of Javi. And the reason why I was talking to Javi was because of Jeff Beatty. So Jeff Beatty recommended Javi and Javi recommended you. Like, I should talk to Jan Hinrichs. But Javi always says Jan. And when I see your name, Jan, as you know, probably, is like one of the most common names in Czech Republic. Do you have anything to do with it? Or is it like, where are you from? Let's start with that.
So no. I have nothing to do with the Czech Republic. My background is really Nordish. I'm born in Germany, in Hamburg, very close to the North Sea. So influence of Jan was actually my parents saw a ship going by Hamburg port with the name Jan Red. By the way, a red ship called Jan. Well, I guess this is a story behind my name. But my name is Jan. My brother is called Lars. No second name, very short. So that was something that my parents really appreciated, to be short, straightforward, and red.
Now you live in Spain, right?
Now I'm living in Spain, in Madrid, for the last 15 years. Yeah.
Can I ask why you decided to move there?
Sun, woman, and good food.
Weather, maybe?
The sun, yeah.
Oh, when you mentioned sun, you meant like the sun that shines at the planet. I thought you had a sun as your sun.
Yeah, the weather conditions, definitely, because Hamburg is one of the most beautiful places on earth, I would say, with all my pride of being from there. But, the ratio of sunny days to rainy days is pretty hard. Here in Madrid, it's slightly the opposite.
Right.
So, my wife is from Spain. We met in Germany. She wanted to go back to Spain. And I said, this is my opportunity. This is my train going southwards. And like in Ice Age, I'm traveling, southwards. So that's cool. That's where we reached Madrid.
Is Madrid your wife's hometown, or was Barcelona also a consideration?
No, it is Madrid. Her family is from here, and Barcelona is lovely, but it's super different. Barcelona is like the sister city of Hamburg, so it's like the same feel of society, of beautifulness and all the surroundings. And why Madrid? Because it's, my wife comes from here, and the second thing is the climate here is super dry. Now, we are reaching 40 degrees in summertime, but super dry, so no problem at all to, just to hide, do shadow hopping, and you just feel great. Meanwhile, 30 degrees or 35 degrees in Hamburg or Barcelona, and you're dying, you're melting away.
Now, before we get into localization, I have one thing to ask you. Do you think we should set a safety word for this interview?
I was thinking about that. If you want to have a safety word...
Okay, maybe let's give a background to the people who were not listening to our private discussion that we had before. Explain to me, because you taught me about that. So what are we talking about?
Okay, so we were talking about a great podcast in Germany I'm listening to, and it is an endless podcast. So the only way to end that podcast is by saying the magic word the guest of the host has to pronounce at the beginning to fill it in. Yeah, in my case, it would be Ginger, which is the name of my new dog we have at home.
Okay.
At any moment of the podcast, when the guest pronounces the word, which I won't pronounce because then immediately it shuts down. It's all over. Everything is said. And this is the title of the podcast. Everything is said in Germany. Alles gesagt.
Now, Jan, how did you get into localization?
By accident.
Same here, but please explain.
My brother started this international company called Sing, which is a German social network competitor to LinkedIn in 2003. A few months after LinkedIn started its way, and he was trying to, negotiate with a LinkedIn team to bring it to Europe and run European operations. They said no. He said okay. He built up a company which is now stock market listed, and October 2003 he started. 2004 January I joined the company to run, and he said, yeah, you are in Spain. We need localization. Europe is a different place than the USA. Europe, from day number one, you need internationalization to get on scale. It's not enough to be the one and only in Germany, because you will have immediately copycats in all other places. And it's really about speed and getting foot on those markets. So internationalization was important. He said, you're in Spain, that's very close to managing languages. So get in touch with the translation agency, run the operation, and build it up, make it done, make it happen, and this is how I came into this industry. And we started working with the translation agency. We insourced it again. There was no fit. The workflows of the SaaS company were completely different in terms of ongoing translation management. So there was no fit. We insourced it. We ramped it up to 15 languages in 2 years. Not only my work, but a teamwork of different people. But I was always in the loop. In 2006 came, my international career in university was ended, and I started with the question, now what? And the now what question was, okay, shall I go into a Spanish company to work for a Spanish company? As a German, in 2004, that was not like in the 90s, where a German could come here and say, hey, I'm German, hire me, and people might have ended up hiring you just because you were German. So 2004 was pretty different, 2006. And the alternative was starting a business. At that point, my wife wanted to leave Sing at that moment and to start a freelance translator life, to work independently and so on. And I say, well, do you have a job for me, maybe? And I studied business, so I pitched her to say, that's a great idea. You can make it. And now I have to create a job for me, which is the best when we start a company, externalize ourselves and do the same what we have done for Sing, for other SaaS services, and build up a company that serves these kind of clients. And that's what we have been doing since 2006.
That's so romantic.
This is the real story of Beluga.
Started Beluga just so that your wife can get a job. I love it. So in this interview, we will mostly talk about LocLunch, actually, not Beluga. So it's funny because you said that you had this now what moment. Did you also have a now what moment when you first started thinking about LocLunch?
Talking about LocLunch for me is talking about Beluga as well, because both are completely related to each other in the sense that if it were not for Beluga, I wouldn't have started LocLunch.
Right.
So LocLunch was in January 2019 when I spent a year with my family back in Hamburg just to see, is the weather still as I knew it 15 years ago? And it is. It was, but it was still it's a lovely place and we really enjoyed it. But I discovered that, I had no network in the translation industry in Hamburg. So I knew a few people, but, not a whole bunch of people.
Just to recap, how far were you with Beluga at that time in 2019? How many years was it operating for?
Yeah, since 2006, we started the company. So 2019, 13 years.
And you still had no network, nobody in Hamburg.
Yeah, curiously, because our clients are mainly tech companies from the US.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a few clients in Germany, we have a few clients in London and in Dublin or Ireland, but our headquarters is in Madrid, and I live in Madrid. So we have been working with companies in Hamburg. You're working always with project managers, in our case with software companies. So who do I know who's working in the industry, really in the industry, not only on client side, but, translators, other project managers, other companies. I knew a few companies, translation companies in Hamburg, but I had no relation with them because we didn't have touch points. The only touch points we might have had in the past was through LocWorld, or gala conferences where you come together, you meet for a few seconds and, hey, bye. Yeah, you are the SP. Oh, great. Bye-bye. That's it.
Here's my business card.
Yeah, here's my business card. Nice. Let's keep in touch. So this sucks, and what I was looking for was get to know people, get to know other people and have a brainstorming, have common understanding of what they understand as our industry, what I have in mind, and what eventually we both have in mind, or we all have in mind to move forward, And so I reached out, and in a very Spanish attitude, I said, we have to meet at lunchtime, to have a business lunch, and we ended up being four people. There was one TMS, Wolfgang Gretz from Phrase, CEO from Phrase.com, which is a TMS company based in Hamburg. We had a translator on board and the CEO from Duolingo, which is a larger Hamburg-based translation company. And so Wolfram introduced me to the CEO from Duolingo, and we just sit down and had a wonderful 1.5 hours burger lunch, talking about our industry, and what are the challenges and so on. And that was so great that was the birth moment of LocLunch.
Okay, so what was going through your head? Like, I want details. Like, is it like okay, like I had this experience for the very first time, and now I want to see how I can scale this experience, how I can bring this experience to other people? Or what were you thinking at the time? Like, did you really think like, okay, I'm going to build a community? Or what were your initial thoughts after that? Like, you enjoyed it, and then what?
Oh, yeah. No, I sort of copy-paste. I'm traveling to Berlin next week, and I'm doing exactly the same meeting, just folks in Berlin, and I posted it on LinkedIn, and that was the moment where it took corpus, so it was suddenly that people reacted so positively, like, hey, Jan, this is a pic, a description of what we have talked, how great that was, what the experience was. I published it to social media and LinkedIn, and people started saying, yeah, when do you come to Barcelona? When do you come to Holland? When do you come to Milan? When? We want to do the same. That really looks nice. And I was saying, gosh, that is a great future. I'm just going around eating all my way through the industry. Okay, so second thought, well, maybe not that good, in terms of weight, in terms of family, in terms of business.
Right.
So, yeah, we needed to find a solution. And the solution was, do it yourself. and become an ambassador in your place and doing exactly the same. And maybe I come around one day and visit you. But it's so easy. You just need to let people know that you are there and that people can join without any prejudice about titles, where they work, just open conversation. And it caught fire.
So who was the first ambassador that you got?
So I think that was Yuka from Barcelona. We had three people, but it was, and Jeff Beatty actually was one of the first as well. He was in Utah. He ran the Silicon Slope meeting, so a meetup. It was just a meetup, and he was there as well. And saying, "Hey, great idea, and let's talk." And we started off, just brainstorming a little bit how we can get this structure. And it came let's do it like once a month on a 15th or second Thursday or Wednesday or whatever. And the second Thursday was like 3 days away from the day I'm talking about. And this was the day Yuka told me, yeah, that's great. How do you do it? I say, you know what? You need to do this, and this, and just go, just say, hey, I'm down there in the cafeteria and join me. And hey, voila, you have a LocLunch, and yeah, I think I was persuasive enough. She took my word and we had this Barcelona LocLunch, and it was a big one. It was already 9 people she could gather. And a few months later, Barcelona LocLunch ramped up some 30 people in place, eating everybody, all from the industry, great adventure. At the same time, we had like 10, 15 other LocLunches around the world doing the same.
Have you, over the time, thought more about the requirements for an ambassador? So I know the last time when we talked about it, you told me that you were having a chat with someone who wants to be an ambassador somewhere. So I would assume actually that could be another question, like if you had like a bad experience with some ambassadors. So how did you shape your requirements for ambassador over the time?
Yeah.
Do you have something like an interview? Like, hey, if you want to be an ambassador, you need to show us this, you need to do this? Or is it more like volunteer and anyone can do it?
Yes and no. It's a good question, and this is actually from almost day 2 of LocLunch, it was clear we need some guidelines. What makes LocLunch a LocLunch, and what it is not, and what is the requirement for an ambassador. And this is a conversational format, so we knew what we don't want. And Jeff Beatty and Jose Palomares from the US were very clear about that. People with a long-standing experience in conferences, they know all the sales people in the world because everybody has pitched them at a certain moment, their services. So, the common understanding was this is not a sales tool. So we're not looking for anybody who just want to promote themselves to run LocLunch. So we came up with a few guidelines for a good ambassador, which is basically, you're representing yourself. You have an genuine interest in creating networks, in building up networks, that you believe that a network will benefit all. You include the ambassador as well. But it should be levered for everybody, and it needs to be inclusive. So the ambassador is the one who needs to run the flag and say, no pitching, no straightaway pitching, to set the stage for this conversation that is neutral and that's positive for everybody. So, and I run these interviews. We have a playbook, We created a playbook with like all the steps you need to do. It's not a lot, but some guidelines just for people to know what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And then this is a serious question. Building networks it's an ongoing process. You're not building a network from today to tomorrow. So I pitched all candidates that they have to consider if they are really, interested in building up networks, because it needs frequency. Mm-hmm. Every month, ideally, you pitch for you organize a new event every month after month after month, and you grow with your network. And today we have some very, very successful LocLunch ambassadors who stuck to the frequency, who embraced the virtual ones as well, and are now organizing monthly sessions of 30 people, great conversations, really insightful, and they're really heroes of our industry.
So let's talk about the ambassadors. We don't have to name them, who didn't turn out to be that great. Did you actually have anyone like that where you saw something happen, or somebody who attended that event said like, hey, Jan, I went to this event and this is what happened to me. Is this how you want your LocLunch to be? Because all the ambassadors basically represent the brand of LocLunch, right? Like what you stand for as LocLunch, like what it should be. So did you have that experience that somebody did something like really against the guidelines and you had to cut them off?
Yeah, we had that one. Mm-hmm. We had that case. And, it's basically they misunderstand the purpose. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And or they try to become ambassadors, but they do not have social reputation. Mm-hmm. So without social reputation, at least, especially when you're like most of the people are so LSP people. This is a intersection of we have the translators, we have the LSPs, and we have the buyer side, and maybe all the other types of formats we have around them. But I think the most dangerous part is in the LSP part, mm-hmm. where people might think, this is, or also tool part, where people might think, this is a cool way to make business. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if people grasp this, your LocLunch will go down. And this is a very basic social behavior system that kicks in. So I don't have any control. I can't be in any LocLunch and all the LocLunches in the world. Right. But if somebody is against the rules, you will see it fades out very soon. Either because people protest and say, hey, I don't go. This guy is bad. We had it just once, fortunately. Again, then I try to be a little bit more precise in my pitch. But that's it.
One of the things that I'm thinking about is if people come there to share their experience, maybe to ask questions and to collaborate, have you ever thought about somehow collecting all this knowledge that gets shared on these LocLunches and maybe shared with the people who did not have a chance to attend those? Or do you just want to keep it for that group?
First of all, there's two phases. We have the offline ones and the online ones. Okay? So offline ones is clear, that nobody is running around with a video camera, and filming everything or taking recordings, no?
Not yet.
And not yet. Fortunately, because, people should be free to just join and have that discussion. And now we go over to the online version where you have the possibility to record, where you have the possibility to analyze speech, where you have the possibility to, take notes, publish it, and all the way. So in theory, it's possible. But first of all, it requires a setup, and common rules and tools. Now in Zoom, you can't create these tools on a structured level. for an organization. I couldn't run an ecosystem with Zoom, analyzing all what happens and structure this in one place. Mm-hmm. If it were possible, it might be interesting to take this approach. On the second and most important human resource part, the one who's right now taking notes are the ambassadors. So they write a summary most of the time, what are the topics we talked about. Mm-hmm. But again, we're not here. This is nothing where anybody makes money from. Mm-hmm. It is a place where you can just push your ideas. When I'm hiring, for example, we had a wonderful discussion now in Canada, LocLunch, about hiring. And what are the experiences? Where are you looking for? What are the other part, ideas or techniques to find the right candidate and so on? When we start recording and assessing everybody's participation, then people will shut up, especially in a corporate environment. Mm-hmm. Because the risk, maybe I'm telling something wrong.
Right.
That's not work, and that's not the aim of LocLunch. The aim is you share, if you like, you join it, and take out whatever you like. Take notes yourself. And you have more than ever opportunities to take notes today.
So you mentioned that the very first LocLunch, before it was LocLunch, happened when you had your burger lunch. So I'm wondering, is there anything more to the name than just combination of localization and lunch?
So LocBurgers, that was of course a nice one, but we very soon discovered, not everybody is a fan of burgers. So maybe this is not really localizable.
Right.
So of course you can go for whatever, but then we have a brand issue. So again, you asked before, what came into my mind when this started to grow. It was when we want this to grow on a global scale, we need a brand and we need consistency. Consistency in communication. This is the one and most important law in marketing. Be consistent. Create a brand and create brand value. So LocLunch, okay, so this is a great, easy, rememberable name, and I trademarked it as well. I often get the question, hey, there's TM, what's this? This is an organization. Okay, so what happens in that early days was I tried to register the domain LocLunch.com. And it was just like 3 weeks after my initial post, and the domain was taken. Mm-hmm. So the LocLunch idea was basically not a new one, because in LinkedIn there was this Swedish guy who ran an initiative called Lunch In, and it was for all LinkedIn people, just coming together for lunch and running it. So I didn't invent anything else. And I actually thought, this is a cool format. But I'm not so much interested in everybody on LinkedIn, right, but on people in my industry. So I took the format, the Lunch-In people registered, trademarked their domain, and I thought, maybe there's a reason for that. And especially when we try to build up a brand, global brand, then it gets some solidity to the name, because it's not the same to say, I'm Lock Drinks or Lock Puncher, Lock whatever, blah 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 blah. This comes and goes. So when you sign up and register something, it gets a little bit more solid, and it has proved to be a very solid brand we're creating right now.
So just to be sure that I got this clear, so LocLunch.com is owned by
me.
By you? Oh, so you got it.
No, the LocLunchDomain.com is by somebody I don't even could figure out.
Oh, you couldn't track them down? And maybe.
Yeah. undisclosed.
What are they running on the website? What is it about?
I haven't bothered to follow up on that. Because I signed up for LocLunch.net, LocLunch.com, okay, this is the first thing you might think about, but at the end, you're just establishing internet presence and you need to cater it. And so right now, the website we have for LocLunch.net has a very brief introduction in the concept itself, some FAQs, resources for ambassadors to use, the forms I ask everybody to run because this is statistic-based entrepreneurship. Yeah, so I'm very much a data guy.
Nice.
I like to see, if you gather data, you can analyze data, and then you might see patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So we started off very early to say, log your details. First of all, your events, to see how many events have you run. We have this Excel spreadsheet. This is really, really basic, Yeah. It's the most basic thing you can have, a Google spreadsheet open to the public for viewing, filled in by ambassadors through a form. And you can now filter and see, okay, who are the ambassadors? How many people, how many LocLunches have we done in Hamburg? How many LocLunches have been done overall? All the statistics, it's all open. It's all freely accessible. And it is very interesting to see also for ambassadors to see, where they stand in this ecosystem.
Yeah, I have two follow-up questions. I'm trying to pick which one. Decisions. It's always so difficult to make these decisions. Okay, I'll start with the ambassador. So it's good that you mentioned that, like, where they stand. So what if I'm like, let's say somebody has already been assigned as an ambassador to Vancouver. And I'm like, hey, this guy sucks at doing it. Like, I could do a better job. Is there a way for me to kind of like take it away from him? Or do you value like the existing relationship with the ambassador more? And you just trust the people that they will do the best?
No, first of all, I would ask you if you have attended any of their LocLunches. So if your answer is yes and it still sucks, then why?
Mm-hmm.
You let me know. Okay. And now is this LocLunch, again, it sucks and it's still running. I can track down what is the metrics?
Mm-hmm.
How many people attend? Is it just him? And then I can go into a conversation with this guy or this lady eventually and say, what's happening here? What's going on? And we start the conversation. On the other side, there might be LocLunches. Right now, we have these offline LocLunches. And now with COVID, it's all online.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are a few ambassadors who are reluctant to go online for whatever reason. So that means discontinuity of the community, the local community, which is very bad. Because I think it's a hard investment from the ambassadors in terms of time and preparation and so on. And now not going online means at the same time losing this equity. But I can't convince everybody. Now, if there's somebody who says, hey, London, we're not seeing any community and I would love to go get in touch with other people. So I'm reaching out to the ambassador and say, hey, what's happening? You don't like it? Do you accept the co-ambassador? Would it be okay if I get Andre to run the co-ambassadorship for everything is online and, just work as a team? Or maybe he says, what, I can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so go for it. Nobody earns nothing here.
Right.
The only thing you earn is social equity.
Right. And then my second question that I thought of was, you mentioned the data and seeing the patterns. So what is one of the patterns that like shocked you or that stood out from all the data that the ambassador submitted? And you have this nice view.
I think the most important lesson we have seen in data is continuity is the key. Communities grow by frequency. It's not about the number of people you invite. of course, it's always cool to invite as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And to be an awesome host is also important, but it's way more important to offer this platform with frequency. And then you see numbers growing, attendeeship growing, and the overall reach. And especially when I look at the people who have joined, like at the very beginning and have been working on that continuously, this 1 year, 1.5 years on LinkedIn, those people have really strived.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of visibility, in terms of, social relevance in our industry. And this is something you have two options. Or you work on it yourself, you invest time, or you buy it. And if you buy it from LinkedIn, that's expensive. So yeah, you can reach thousands of leads. Hey, and LinkedIn will say, great, we have this fantastic solution for you. But this is not what social selling is today. This is lead generation in the old-fashioned way. You still have to make your entry there. And what I've seen is, people who have been active as ambassadors understood that social networking and social selling is a new norm. And social selling means not that I pitch you my services, but it's understanding what's your situation. Get in touch and have an interest in the other part, empathy, to understand what's your situation. And maybe, hey, I can develop something that just fits your needs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
My other question was, so since you branded LocLunch, is one of your guidelines that this meeting should always happen during the lunchtime, or are you flexible on that?
So we define lunchtime, everything before 5:00 in the afternoon,
mm-hmm.
and lock drinks, everything after.
Oh, so you have lock drinks now.
Lock drinks, exactly. So lock drinks is not officially branded. It's not trademarked. But it's a format, so all this branding stuff is to reach people, to make it easy to access the conversation, to find it on LinkedIn, to do all this. What we name it, how we name it, it's absolutely, it's irrelevant,
mm-hmm.
because it's about the format itself we're creating. So everything needs a name for us humans to understand. So this one is LocLunch, and whatever fits in this format of open conversation, frequency, open, inclusive conversation can be a LocLunch, and that's it. It's not a lunch. And now eating in front of the camera, we had this discussion with Javi, especially, that not everybody feels so comfortable with eating in front of camera.
Yeah, speaking of food, that's a good segue. Do you like salads?
Okay, so you want to hear the backstory of the salad bowl, yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So first of all, of course, I eat salad. It's not that I'm a huge fan of salad, but in order to be respectful for everybody who wants, we needed sort of identity, so visual identity. And Yuka was the one who came up with the salad bowl idea from a logo type for the banner
mm-hmm.
we're using to publish it. The method is we need to have this announcement post recognizable for everybody to understand, oh, this is a LocLunch. Oh, cool. Yeah, join it. So Yuka came up with this the salad bowl one, and great. You're not hurting anybody. You're not saying, hey, burger lunch. That is maybe not so nice.
Well, actually, you might be hurting the meat lover people. Like I used to be like a huge meat lover before. Now I'm like getting more into vegetarian and eating tofu. But like salad to me used to be an insult before. Like, you want me to eat a salad? Like, what am I, a cow?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is like the less damin word. And I think, if we want to go with the time, meat eating, consumptions, and, cow or lamb or pork or whatever kind of livestock is complicated. It's a complicated matter. We're too many, and we have a huge impact. The industry has a huge impact, and I think especially Gen Z and the younger generations are much more into like, okay, so this is the only option I have to continue with this devastating industry, or not. How do we get proteins? And I think, so let's take the salad ball.
I think like totally unrelated two things. So first of all, I started reading the book Eat to Beat Disease, the one that you recommended to me. First of all, I was super scared because it's like so big and the font size is so small. I was like, no. And then I started reading and it's like very medical. I was like expecting just like, like nice images, eat this to cure this. But I like it. And the second thing was, somebody was just telling me, I think what my mom was telling me, that in Singapore, they started selling commercially like the first chicken meat that was created in a lab. I think, not sure if you heard the news.
The lab breed meat, that is the future, so the ecologic and the impact of slaughter on cows, on pigs, on, with all the problematic around. So you can be I eat meat, it's absolutely, I have no problem with that. But if I would have an alternative like free meat, free of meat, not from livestock, no suffering, and I still have a good taste, and if there's an alternative, I switch.
Right.
So I don't like to eat a hamburger, and imagine where this meat come from. I think this relation between what we eat and where it comes from, that is something we have completely lost. And the industry has made us separate ourselves from this industrialized production and, the product itself. So you consume milk, you consume meat, and it's all great. You just go to the supermarket and hey, it's all nicely packaged, but we have no relation. And at the end, you see a happy cow on a milk, but
she wasn't happy.
Yeah, maybe it's not so cool to be 10 years in a stall, and having to feed humans instead of your own kids. And this is basically a milk issue. So, so again, I think the technology, again, like in our industry, to go back to our industry, technology opens up new opportunities to change our behaviors. The same for LocLunch, and this is maybe the cycle. Before we went to conferences were attended by a couple of people in our industry. So the overall people on LinkedIn, it's about 600,000 people registered on LinkedIn who say they work in the translation and localization industry. Okay, 600,000, 500,000, 600,000. There's more or less the estimate of the overall industry size, so including everybody. Now, how many people went to the conferences? 16,000. 30 conferences, 16,000 attendees, and most of them went not only to one, but to several. So the actual goer are way less. Now, this represents a fraction of the whole industry, and the whole industry is not connected. The lucky few who went to the conferences have these access to knowledge, access to to connections, access to whatever, and they can thrive. Meanwhile, 95% of the people are stuck and have no opportunity either because of family or personal situation or labor situation that their bosses don't allow them to go, and because of time or budget, you know? And so LocLunch and all the formats which have been created in the last 2 years, and I feel like that LocLunch has been a loud voice in this movement to bring democracy to our industry in the sense to access information. You know, because today everybody can talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. And you can talk, you know, day before I talked on a LocLunch with Robin, who's a VP of Lionbridge sales in Canada. You know, and Carl from Wenger, who's the CEO of Wenger Global. You know, where do you meet him? Well, I met him on a LocLunch in London. And we had a great chat. You know, it was free. We had a chat. And otherwise, I would have to go far away on the other side of the world, 5 days traveling, thousands of euro in expenses, just to have eventually this opportunity to talk to him. So this is over.
How did you guys start thinking about transitioning LocLunch to online with COVID? Like when you had the first signs of COVID, were there some online meetings happening before, or did you only start moving into online because of COVID and the lockdowns?
Yeah. There was no online LocLunches before. Again, you know, imagine yourself eating in front of the camera. That was a hard sell. So me especially, you know, I always thought like, wow, this is such a great opportunity to meet people, and I would love to go on a European tour, you know, just to LocLunch with people. And just, you know, take the car and drive through Europe from LocLunch to LocLunch. And I did this from Hamburg when I traveled back to Spain to settle back. You know, I was with my car and I drove through Holland. I met with the ambassador in Holland. Then I met the ambassador of Paris. Then I went to, you know, through France. In that moment, we hadn't had any more LocLunch ambassadors there. There was Marseille, but it was a little bit too far away. But again, you know, connecting with people on the way locally, that is such a big thing. It suddenly feels like, whoa, this is a real change in our life. Mm-hmm. Now, that was very few occasions and a hard sell to my family that I'm on a road trip through Europe LocLunching for 3 weeks, maybe, you know, no permission. So then COVID took place, we said, you know, safety first, stop LocLunching. There's no means in continuing meeting when we risk the life of people. Nobody knew anything about, you know, transmission of the disease. And so I called out to, you know, hold on, let's wait. Now, hold on, 15 days. You say, what the heck is going on, you know? And then, you know, it was clear, hey, we need to go online. There's Zoom, let's give it a try, you know, just go for it. And we started the first LocLunches. It was like, okay, so hello, you know, how do we do this? And I'm here, you know, people come from all over the world and so on. Now, today, the one from Canada the other day was just a blast. It was, I don't know, at a high, it was 32 people or something like that, coming from all over the world to join this LocLunch, this conversation. And it was just amazing. Now today, I think on the 17th of December, we have all these LocLunches in San Diego, in many places around the world. They are all virtual. We have already hundreds of LocLunches celebrated this year online. The communities are so big, so many people, so much interesting discussions. 1.5 hours, just fluent discussion with others. What comes up? Very powerful.
So please don't hate me because I haven't attended a single LocLunch.
I hate you. You missed out, man. You missed out.
I know, probably, yes.
But you have the possibility every day you can change your life.
Change your life with LocLunch. I think the first person who was inviting me was Sankeshwari from Singapore. She's really into it. She's like a hardcore ambassador. So what I wanted to ask you, okay, offline versus online. Like what I imagine LocLunch looks like before COVID was that like you have a bigger group, but for example, me, I'm not that comfortable speaking with a huge group. Like I would assume that it like turns into like a smaller groups, especially like if you're eating, you're probably not shouting to 30 people who are eating their lunch. You probably just chat like with few people around you. How does it work in online? Do you have like breakout rooms or something? Can people get into smaller groups, or is it just like free for all?
So breakout sessions are a possibility, but so far I think nobody has made use of it. Mm-hmm. It is, of course, a completely different discussion because on physical LocLunches, you have your meal, you concentrate, you have a conversation with your neighbors, with the one in front of you. And moving around is a problem, especially when you have 30 people, you won't get to talk to everybody.
Right.
And you won't get to know everybody, even though we have usually these introduction rounds so that, but then you have noise, you have environment and so on. So it's a different thing. It's about relationship building, real life relationship building. Mm-hmm. Online, we have this introductional round, but then it's open conversation, and everybody who wants to take part in this conversation can write their work, write their hand and say, hey, I think this or that. The ambassador is the one who needs to guide the discussion, and he's supposedly he's a host. His job is to give a voice to everybody and eventually ask somebody to listen to the rest if there's too much conversation happening from one again. But there's a force, I think there's a network force as well. So if one is just pitching their ideas, it will harm yourself. Mm-hmm. Because 30 people listening to one who's not supposed to talk all the time ultimately will hurt your reputation. So
for all the introverts out there, is it okay if I just join and I don't say a single word and I just listen?
You will have to say who you are and what you are about, so even if it's just like, hi, I'm Andre, I run a podcast on this, and it's great to meet you all, and I'm here to listen and so on, that's fine, perfect. But you still can learn a lot, and the most likely thing is you get thinking. You get thinking about the stuff that's discussed, and maybe not the first time, but the second time, maybe the third time, you're opening up and say, hey, wow, I've thought about you, and that is the typical introvert, taking notes and, I know you, and analyzing everybody.
Let me pull up my file on you.
Yeah, exactly. So I have your personality profile here. You are my next guest in my podcast, for example. Uh-huh. This is your voice in such a group it's up to you if you want to say, if you want to participate and so on. But when you join a LocLunch, you should be, you show interest in not being isolated.
Okay, so talking about isolation, you did mention a few names, people that were sort of helping you with this. Do you have something like a stable team? Like who shapes up how LocLunch will look like, let's say in 2021? Is it mostly you, or do you have like a core group of people that you talk to?
I think this is an open, we have a Slack channel where we used to put whatever is, of discussion for ambassadors, where we can do, what we can do next and what kind of formats work and so on. Whenever I have, something I have in mind, some crazy ideas about, the future here and there, I usually, post it there and run it at least, to have a feedback loop. And then, everybody is free to say, yeah, I like that, or I don't like that, or, but yeah, we have this tool where we can discuss, and some people are more active, others less.
I touched on the topic of 2021. So if I would ask you about like the future of LocLunch, the one question that I had for you, like, is there something like a strategy for LocLunch?
Yeah, world domination.
Right.
We talked about that one. So social networks is about size of network size. The more knots you have, the more value the network creates. So this is true for Facebook, this is true for Instagram, this is true for whatever social network you're looking at. So scale effects. We're talking about scale effects. Now, my main purpose with the LocLunch community to grow it steadily to new places, because the more places we add, the more people granularly will join the overall network and can access other LocLunch ambassadors, other LocLunch groups. So, we just get more people involved in the conversation. And then this is the main goal, to have a fluent conversation, because the more we talk, the more information can flow about the latest stuff out there, and eventually structured content like this podcast, people might discuss what we're talking here. Mm-hmm. And then they say, yeah, but this is all bullshit, has no clue, let's do this and that. And there's a platform to do this. I think this is the main purpose. Now, what can come out of a network? Facebook came out of a network, so Facebook. The social network, in my understanding for LocLunch, is when we add value on scale. So we have a network, we have a loose community. A loose community in the sense that we do not have users right now. We have no user accounts. It's all, very loose. Mm-hmm. People, ambassadors shout out, people join. That's it. And this is a network growth. It's a very strange format. It's a very untypical social network because it's a loosely hold together of the network, but it's growing strong. It's very interesting to see that it still continues. It continues to grow, and it grows on a higher rate, being such a loose, uncoordinated, decentralized, democratized network. Mm-hmm. And this is maybe what But anyway, this is right now. It's me. And what we can do from here is something we can, explore. And I'm very open to, whoever likes to add something. We're talking with Prozi, we are talking with the big association. Now, what kind of impact we can have as a community in our industry towards a better future? I think Yeah. Maybe this is the driver, yeah.
Speaking of social networks, is LinkedIn like the main platform where people share and promote LocLunch, or do you also utilize other social networks?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is blocked in Russia. LinkedIn is blocked in China. Mm-hmm. Japanese are not using LinkedIn very much. Mm-hmm. So, our ambassadors are taking care of recruiting, of announcing and reaching out to their society, so their attendees. So they are open for everybody to join. We have sort of lock it on LinkedIn to have coverage so that people know that it exists. But as we have this form, so you can run an event on Facebook, especially the Russian guys, or through WhatsApp, the Chinese WhatsApp, to run WeChat. Sorry, I've mixed it up. So WeChat to reach out to your communities, and this is absolutely clear. There's a lot of opportunity to improve outreach and control on our side.
When I asked you the question about a strategy during our intro call, you mentioned Africa. Do you want to maybe dive more into that, or is it like a top secret project of yours?
World domination includes Africa. It can't be otherwise. And Antarctica inclusive, of course, we have to be inclusive. No, so what is the case of Africa is that LinkedIn is a white Caucasian social network. Basically, the majority of users are white and white collar from personal perspective. Okay, I might be wrong. I might say LinkedIn maybe will be against me tomorrow, but that's my impression from my feed.
Right.
Okay, so I might live in a bubble, but still, there's no conversation. And when we go to our conferences and our LocLunches, I see it real time that Africa is not involved. Southeast Asia is coming to slowly. They're warming up. So what does it mean? We have these islands. We have this knowledge islands and, community. So we have the northern community. So everybody who lives in Europe or the US is connected and has access to our industry knowledge, Now, where is the demand coming in the next 5 years? I think, and this is what the UN says, when you look on statistics of growth, economic statistics, Africa has a young population. Mobile access is so huge. They are mobile first. And there's no reason to think that people in Africa don't want to join the same e-commerce and the same, global trade and the same opportunities we have in the north. So, why is there no communication? And this is something I want to break up with LocLunch, just to give a little bit of sense to enable the same conversation and to get to know people on the ground who are not representatives of big companies or, sort of insiders, but for everybody, and then I think we can really understand what's happening over there. We can create products, we can create services to cater not only North American companies or European companies or Asian companies going to Africa, but African companies going the other way around. Mm-hmm. All these entrepreneurs there's so much entrepreneurial understanding over there and drive way more than gold digger atmosphere in Africa. African youth, they see, wow, internet, we have opportunities, and they are on fire to get this. and growth, economic growth will show, and internet coverage, mobile coverage will give them this access. And so I think we need to get prepared. Africa is like, in the next 5 years, there will be huge differences between today and within 5 years when we tell to 2027, or 2026 or whatever. It will be, my guess is, will be completely integrated.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then our industry, and this is maybe my question to you, do you think that our industry is ready for Africa? Have you ever interviewed African people on your podcast?
No, never. I think, how we started the chain, Jeff, Javi, Jan, I think you should propose the next guest for me, which might be from Africa.
Yeah, I have good candidates over there.
Yeah, so when is the first LocLunch in Africa going to be?
Oh, it happened already.
It already happens. There you go.
It already happened. You're not. I'm not revealing here any. So yeah, the other day we were in Abidjan, which is the capital from Côte d'Ivoire, from Ivory Coast, and it was a fantastic LocLunch. It was really diving into a complete different reality. And whoever wants to, understand it, whoever wants to, is bored, of our social problems and, and all these, whatever, boring white people status, just join the African LocLunches, get into the mindship of the people there. Eventually, the conversation goes and people start telling you what they do in the localization industry, how they're doing business, how do they train other people, how, and what kind of immense growth potential is over there, how people are empowered to do new stuff. So yeah, if you're bored, just instead of Netflix, go to a LocLunch in Kenya, in Maputo, and Mozambique. We will have Mozambique starting soon. Maputo, Abidjan will be there again, and Kenya, Lagos. I'm working on recruiting for Lagos, which is just a massive city with a massive entrepreneurial spirit, creating the next stage. And I remember on a conference in Munich, like very high level people there, and there was this girl from Lagos, and she lived in Washington, I think, and she said, you know what, I'm back from the future. When I go to Lagos and I come back, I feel like I'm back from the future. So because it's all so much more dynamic, there are so much things happening. We can't even, it's like for us thinking about reality in Shanghai or in Beijing, in China, in Shenzhen, the reality with technology they have and our reality is like pure boredom for what we are doing here. It's like 19th century, internet usage, or 20th century internet usage. For those guys, it's like, oh, how calm is everything here,
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so, and the same happens in Africa, and I think we need to get prepared, and I really enjoy it. It's a lot of time I invest in LocLunch as a founder of LocLunch, but also I'm running a company, which is Beluga, and here we are again, I'm not doing this just for the good of everybody, because I believe that this is something my clients might ask me to provide. So I have to spearhead our way through this. And LocLunch is just a way to get to know the greatest talent, is to understand the market, is to build up product services around that, and just get connected. This is not only for me. Everybody can do exactly the same. So my call here is Join a LocLunch. Andre, you have to join a LocLunch.
Yeah, my first one will be the African one. How about that?
I will send you the invite. And I will track you.
All right.
No, you will enjoy.
Yeah.